Get Gutsy, episode number 177 with Lorraine Rise on Ready Enough. Welcome to Get Gutsy. I'm your host, Jenny Fennig, and I am so excited to be on this journey with you. A cutting-edge show blending business and spirituality, Get Gutsy serves up a potent blend of stories, lessons, and tips to help you make a massive impact in the world through your soul's work and your inspired life. No more going it alone, no more excuses. The world needs more brave women saying yes to leadership. Are you with me? Good. Let's get gutsy now. Hey there, Jenny here. It's time for Get Gutsy. Oh my gosh. Wow. It's almost the end of this year. And it's been a year. I kind of look back and I'm thinking, holy, a lot has happened. I turned 40. I went to India. I helped a lot of people. I led retreats in Costa Rica and Tulum, Mexico, and at my home. Wow, a lot. I homeschooled my oldest son, and I'm now homeschooling both. And my daughter is in her first year of preschool now. And wow, so I'm plugging into, I'm feeling a lot of it. I will be doing one more podcast episode before the end of the year, which you will want to check out. And it's all about kind of just bringing closure to this year and looking ahead. So stay tuned for that. And I just want to thank you for being here, being a part of this journey. And wow, I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. I hope you are spending it with those you love and doing things that fill you up and give you an immense amount of pleasure. And I want to tell you about our next podcast episode. We started really, bringing back the conversations. I took a little hiatus from that for a bit, and just going to give you a heads up that 2018 is filled with experimentation and doing what feels right. And I'll keep you posted on how things evolve and develop. But I'm finding that that's really what I need to do and how I'm best wired to serve. So today we are going to hear from, me. I'm going to hear from a great, smart woman called Lorraine Rise. And she is giving it to you straight around perfectionism and fear of fear. Lorraine is a career coach. I got to know her this year because she hired me for a VIP day, which is really fun. We did, I call it a VIP strategy retreat. And we did this via Zoom, which is a very powerful way to connect. And, for my VIP days, my clients do a lot of pre-work and they give me lots of their stuff to review and look at. I'm like really kind of dissecting things that are going on. I'm, asking for particular results and numbers and, answers. And, I'm like the person who's just kind of looking underneath the hood of your business and giving you strategic direction of where we're going to go next. So anyway, Lorraine hired me for a VIP day. And I was so impressed by what she built that I invited her to be on the show. So you're going to hear from her today. She's going to tell you how she overcame perfectionist syndrome, and she'll tell you her take on fear. She has a super cool business and has done amazingly well using LinkedIn as a tool to connect with prospects and turn many of them into paying clients. And I know you're going to get so much from this episode around letting life surprise you and just a real straight talk around your fear and what it's really telling you. And my favorite piece was when Lorraine dropped this bomb of a gem on being ready enough. As women, I know predominantly we have women who listen to the show. All my cool guys, what's up? Glad to have you here too. But so many of us are waiting for the perfect time. We're not ready yet, and I don't know, and it's not ready. You're ready enough. And that is the theme of this episode, is ready enough. And just real quick on the VIP day point, for those of you who want that strategic support from me, you want a real seasoned guide helping you go to that next level with your sacred work, especially in the coaching realms, the consulting realms, like you are some kind of teacher leveraging, the internet and, putting your message out there, and you're just feeling like stalled, like, there's a next level for you, but you can't seem to get there on your own, reach out to my team at support@jennyfenig.com. I will be taking on a small number of clients for VIP strategy retreats in the first quarter of the year. And so you can reach out to the team at support@jennyfenig.com. Get more info on that. And I also want to give a shout out to everyone who has stepped forward into my next class of Get Gutsy Coach Training School. I am coming off of a whirlwind enrollment period. Today, when this episode goes live, is when we close our doors on applications. If you feel called to be a part of this most epic place for spiritual coaches who want to make a difference and a great living, and you're listening to this on the day it goes live, you're not too late. coachtrainingschool.com. All right, I think that's everything I want to say before I let you in on this awesome conversation with the one and only Lorraine Rise on Ready Enough. Enjoy. Lorraine Rise, welcome to Get Gutsy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Jenny.
Yeah, we're going to have some fun today. So Lorraine, well, you've been in my community for a while. Like, I feel like you had been on my list for some time. Mm-hmm. And then it was a few, months ago at this time, weeks ago, that I had the chance to work with you closely in a VIP strategy retreat, which we did online, which was so awesome. So I really got a sense of your work and all this just beauty and value that you bring to the world, which we're going to talk about today during our episode. But we're going to go back in time before we focus on the present. Mm-hmm. And this is something that I'm loving now doing with my podcast guests, is really talking about what got you here. What got you here? I'm fascinated by childhoods of my guests and just really like who you were as a younger girl. Like, what were some of those pivot point moments? What were some of those experiences, those memories that you have that have shaped you into who you are today? And so let's go back to when you were younger. First off, where do you live now, and where did you live when you were growing up?
Well, I didn't really travel too far geographically. I live now in my hometown here in Northern Virginia. Yeah, which I love. So my parents are right down the street. And so are my husband's parents as well. So family is big to me. We're all right here in the Northern Virginia area, just outside DC. So it's where I'm from and it's where I'm at now. And I love it.
That's awesome. So you grew up in a place that you love. You didn't feel the need to go far. Did you go away for college, or did you?
I did.
Yes. Where did you go to college?
Well, this is going to surprise people. So I went to the University of North Dakota.
Wow. Okay.
I did. I went there because that's where my boyfriend, now husband, needed to go for his flight school. And because we've been together as high school sweethearts.
Oh my gosh.
17 years now. So I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, really at that point. So he knew where he needed to go. So I said, all right, I'll go with you to the frigid North Dakota.
And where is University of North Dakota? Is that Fargo?
It's north of Fargo, about 90 miles. Yep, in Grand Forks.
Yeah. Okay, I love it. Cool story. All right, so let's talk about. It sounds like you grew up in your parents are still together, your husband's parents are still together. I'm like, that's just, it's so opposite of like my experience. I'm like, wow, that's like so interesting. My husband's parents are still together. They've been married for more than 50 years. It just blows my mind. But okay, so let's talk about when you were younger, when you were, with my guests, I'm like, before you turned 18, like when you were not quite an adult, could be younger, could be teenagers, wherever it is. But what's like the most amazing memory that you have, the most amazing experience you had from childhood?
Well, I am the youngest of four. So it was a pretty large family. So growing up, there was always commotion. There was always activity. I mean, the four of us kids and my parents all in one house. It was never boring, for sure, which I love. And the funny thing is I as a child, I wasn't so much aware of this, but now my father actually tells me, he says, Lorraine, you were the youngest, but you would not take any crap from your siblings. He said, you were feisty, you were driven. And it's kind of interesting to hear that from my father, because I realize so much of that is alive in me today, because I am very ambitious. I'm very driven. And that I look back and I go, that is how I was. And that's still who I am. It's in my DNA to
Mm-hmm.
want to create and grow. And I was always competing with, I think, with my siblings. So I was always wanting to keep up with
Right.
them and do what they could do. And that drive and that energy just has really stayed with me. And
Mhm.
it's really my foundation. So
I love that. I love that. I can see that, when you're the younger one, it's like you almost have these mentors, you have these ones that they've done it before you and you're like, ooh, they could do, I could do that too. I see that with I have 3 kids and my daughter, I mean, she's like how your dad described you,
mhm,
feisty. She just goes for it. She's like, I'm going to do that. It's going to be really exciting to see how they
mhm,
all grow up, but it's cool to hear what it was like for you being the youngest of 4 in that
mhm,
family. So
mhm.
what was the most challenging piece of that time in your life before you went off to the University of North Dakota? Like, what was that? What was something that was really tough?
I think that, it's funny. On one hand, I have this drive and ambition that's been within me, and it's a good thing. And, it's always been there since I was a kid, but it's a double-edged sword
Mm-hmm.
because at the same time, I feel like I grew up with almost this perfectionist syndrome, that
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be the best and I always wanted to perform, and that's good. But I've really, as I've grown up, had to learn how to manage that and
Mm-hmm.
use it as a strength and not take it a little bit too far. Because, as I grew up, I think there was some self-criticism and some self-doubt and that perfectionist syndrome that I think some people have. I'd started to develop that a little bit. And it's something now as an adult that I'm really becoming more aware of. And I'm kind of tracing it back to those earlier years, which I wouldn't have thought of, but I think that's where it comes from. So it's kind of one of those things where you have to manage your strength to make it not become a weakness by taking it a little bit too far. So,
Totally. Where do you
yeah.
think that perfectionism came from? Like, was there because you saw your siblings doing things, you're like, I wanted to be as good as them? Or can you kind
Yeah,
of
I
pinpoint
think
where that came
I think it is. I think that it comes sometimes with the territory when you are really ambitious and when you are
from?
really driven, there can be a desire to just have this control. It's like a control factor that,
Yes.
and you just take it a little bit too far
Yes.
sometimes. So I'm getting much better at it. And I think
Mhm.
now the funny thing is, a business owner, the desire to want to have control or ownership over everything is crazy. Like,
Right. Because
so,
you
but it's presented, I know, but it's presented me an opportunity to work on that. I
can't.
think,
Yes.
now
Which
that,
is probably why you were called to this work,
yes.
which is that's the piece that I always find fascinating with especially my like love of spirituality. And I feel like spiritual growth equals business growth. And that's why I like to talk about what happened when you were younger, because there's all these little points that connect, like these golden threads that weave between, and we're given opportunities to work on what we need to work on. So the perfectionism thing, it's control. I've had to work through that myself too. And when you become an entrepreneur, what you realize is done is better than perfect. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're waiting for it to be perfect, you're never going to get it out there. Like, it's just
Exactly.
not. There's going to be something that is wrong with it that you can fix for next time. You're like, oh, I reviewed it. I didn't see, and that's okay. And we have to give ourselves like permission,
Mm-hmm.
or else we're never going to reach our fullest potential.
Absolutely. And I think that owning a business is one of the quickest ways to learn those lessons, because you are exposed. You are
Mhm.
putting yourself out there, and so it really has helped me to work on that and be the best version of myself. And so I'm working on it. I'm getting better at it. Absolutely.
You definitely are. I mean, I've seen shifts in you just in the time that I've known you,
Yeah.
and what you're willing to put out there. So, how
Mhm.
did you find your way to entrepreneurship?
Well, I can tell you it is not something that I envisioned early on at all. It's one of those things where I had to really kind of let life guide me and let life
Mm-hmm.
surprise me a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. Because if I had been the one, if I would have told you early on that I would be a business owner, I would say no. I didn't feel, I would say, almost smart enough, worthy enough early on that is a path that I would have foreseen. But
Mm-hmm.
I reached a point, so my chosen career path was in recruiting and human resources, and that seemed like a solid path. So I took that, and I got to a point where something inside of me shifted because I didn't feel as passionate about it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I had manifested on the surface everything I really had said I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I had had this career in HR, and I had a good one, but for some reason it just wasn't enough. I just felt called for more.
Mm-hmm.
I felt anxious, and I
Mm-hmm.
was asking really deeper questions of myself,
Mm-hmm.
and it led me to coaching and to helping people in their professional lives, which was something that I had felt that I was very good at. I felt very comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I really got to a point where I felt ready enough, not ready, but ready enough
Mm-hmm.
to get out there and start doing this for myself and really create a life of freedom. That's what I was after on kind of more on the surface was how can I have more control over my schedule and my freedom and my life?
Mm-hmm.
The only way to do that was to work for myself. I was never, ever going to achieve the level of freedom that I wanted working for someone else. Now, other people maybe can. For me, I had a very hard realization about 2.5 years ago that if I wanted to achieve what I really felt called to do, I was going to have to go out on my own.
Yes.
And and it was scary.
Right? When you just see it, it's just like, oh.
Yes.
Hey, and like I identify with what you said because I was just being interviewed for somebody else's podcast and I said to her, I didn't see myself as an entrepreneur. I wasn't growing up being like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I was like, I'm going to be the head of this PR agency. Like that's what I'm going to do. And that recognition that was not going to get me to the life that I wanted to have. And I knew was possible. I just felt it. I felt it. And then when you start meeting others who are doing it, you're like, I remember when I quit my job in New York and I was figuring out what I was going to be doing next. I had just finished a yoga teacher training and I was like on the path of figuring it out. And I'd be going to yoga at like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, there are people in this class, during the week. This wasn't a weekend. I'm like, they do
yes.
Whoa.
You're like, is there life out there?
You're like, well, let me in on the secret, man. Cause I've been trying to get here at night and I'm tired. It's on weekends and I'm tired. And there's another thing. And so for you realize the life of freedom that you knew was available and that you really wanted and it was what you're here to do. The only way you were going to be able to achieve it was to work for yourself and create your own business.
I was working, I was gone 11 hours a day, Monday through Thursday, 11 hours a day. And I have a young child at home and my husband's of course, works full time and commute. And I just reached a point where I said, this is just not working for me. And and it was very clear to me that I could go look for another job, but it was going to be more of the same. It was going to be more of the same.
Totally.
Absolutely. So if I wanted different results, I was going to have to get gutsy, really, and take a different action.
You're going to have to take a different action. That's so beautiful that you said, if you want a different result, you've got to take different actions. It's like, if that's not working, I had the same thing when I was like, okay, I'm not liking this career anymore. Why would I go get another PR job at a different agency? It's going to be the same thing. It's just a different location.
Yeah.
So we have to be willing to do that. And it is scary. And so how did you work through that fear? And what did you do? Like, did you quit your job? Did you just start the business? Like, take us back to that point in time.
I didn't quit my job right away. I went ahead and I had the idea of career coaching. It's just a vague thought, just kind of a twinkle in my eye at one point in this, I think this was early 2014. But I didn't give it much thought. I didn't have a reason to make a change. I was still kind of comfortable. Things were okay, and life has a way of doing for us sometimes what we are not brave enough to do on our own. And it usually comes in the form of a perceived crisis. And so for me, this was early 2015, I was working at a very toxic job, which was a strange place for me to be in, to be misaligned with a job like that. And I got very, very abruptly let go from that. And that was a blessing in disguise. And it was really the impetus for me starting my whole company. And it really forced me to do what I needed to do. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And I really look back on it as an absolute blessing. And since then I did have to pick up another job, but because it takes time to build the company up, but here I am now, and I have left my full-time job. And I'm so sorry, Jenny. My daughter's
okay.
really.
All right, y'all, we're resuming the convo. Lorraine is a mother. Her daughter was coming home from school, and it was just one of these things that we needed to move through. So we're all cool.
Yes.
And this is the thing. It's like, and I love about my show is I just keep it really real. Some people are like, if I mess up, will you edit it? I'm like, I can if it's like a major like tech thing or whatever, but normally this is just life. I say my kids may barge in, like we may have things that are going down because this is real life. And guess what? You can create a business and be a mom, and and it can be messy at times and not perfect, right? And it's like, hey, you just had some human thing happen, and so it's all good. It's all good. Okay, so let's go back. So you were, you were let go. You started this business. You're getting it off the ground, and you realize, you know what? I need to take on another job, bring in revenue as I'm building, because the business does not get built in 24 hours or even a month or two. Like, it takes time. And I think that's very wise and a great piece of insight for our audience to know that that's okay. I have clients who they'll be like, well, I have this opportunity to take on contracting work. I'm like, yes, do that. Take that on. You can work from home. You can create that while you're building, because you never want, I mean, there's one thing to have your back against the wall because it makes you take bold action. I love that. But we don't want to get to a place where we're doing business out of desperation. Where we're like, I'm desperate. Like I need, because that energy comes across. So you took on that additional job, building, and you've gotten to a place now where you don't need that other thing. It's like the business is self-sustaining. So give us a lens into what your business looks like now. What are some of the ways that you serve clients? And this is also gives us a view into your revenue streams. Like, how does your business make money?
Yeah, so it's been a year and a half now since I walked away from my last job. And I have to tell you, ever since that day, so ever since my attention and my focus and my time is all in this direction, I'm no longer one foot in here, 1 foot in here. I'm all in the business. It has grown exponentially because this is now my full-time job. So this is where, in addition to being a mom and a Girl Scout leader and a wife and all of those other things, really this professionally is where all of my focus is going. So, and it's walking away from my job changed the trajectory of my life. It's the reason you and I are speaking. It's the reason I'm in this home office now, and I'm doing what I love for clients that are amazing. And it's the best use that I can think of for my skills. I'm using skills that I want to be using. I'm doing what I believe that God put me here to do, and it makes a difference in the world. And I'm making as much and many months more than what I was making before. So,
and it hasn't even been that much time. Just give yourself more time and just watch, wait. Like, it's going to blow your mind. You're going to get to a point where you're like, I just made more than I made in like an entire year.
Oh yes. I've had to remind myself and go back into my business plan and look at and say, I've made as much in a day that I used to make in a couple weeks. You know, it's just, and it blows my mind how much shifting had to happen for me internally for any of that to happen. It was 100% internal shift. And there's so many more levels that it's going to get to.
Yes.
But today my business is fabulous. I have 2 other resume writers that support me. So I'm starting to build a team, which is wonderful because it got to a point where I was starting to work a lot again, and that work-life balance that I wanted originally was starting to erode. And that's one of the reasons I started this business. So I said, okay, it's time to bring on some help. So now I have a great team. My mom helps me as well. She's on my payroll.
That's so awesome. What does she do? What does she do for the business?
She does all of my editing and proofread. So my blogs, I've got several monthly columns that I write. She's my second pair of eyes, and I can't live without her.
That's fabulous.
Yeah. So I love making it a family affair. And of course, my husband does my fabulous website and IT. So it's like, feel like I'm building a dream team and pulling in my family to support. It supports them. It supports me. And it's really amazing. I feel like it's a family business, which is even more amazing to me.
Yes.
But yeah, the biggest thing that I look back on, I think I choose what I want to do now every day. I never got to choose how I spent my day. It was always based on the employer. Now I'm doing things because I want to do them, because they're what I'm best at and because it helps my clients. And I'm in control of my day in a way that I never was before.
Yes.
And I have to pinch myself and remind myself about that. So I never, ever forget where I came from. And if this was just 2 or 3 years ago, what would I be doing during my day?
Yeah.
I ask myself that question all the time. If this day were 3 years ago, what would you be doing? And it's just immediate gratitude and joy that I feel when I ask myself that question.
That's gorgeous. So a piece of your business is this resume writing. So you have your clients. So you really stepped into the career coach.
Yes.
Energy, like path. Like, I'm going to be a career coach. You took your HR background and said, I'm going to help people find careers that they love and that they're uniquely designed to operate in. And so your clients, they're coming to you when they're looking for a new job, when they're looking for a fresh start. Kind of give us a lens of like, when do people reach out to you? And in addition to resume writing help, how else do you serve your clients?
Yeah, the resume writing was really, I feel like, just the foundation that got my business going. It's really evolving a lot at this point. I am focusing a lot more on the career and job search coaching, which I love. And I think that that's ultimately where it was meant to go.
Yes.
So I work primarily, I would say, with mid to late career job seekers, because I found that was who was contacting me. People who had been with one employer for a long time and were terrified of starting a job search, or people who were worried about age discrimination, aligning themselves with someone younger who knows all about the modern job search and has been job searching for recently, is so valuable to them. So I love being able to provide that accountability, that information, that coaching, and tell people you are not alone in your job search. You are not alone. I will partner with you. I will help take some of the pain away. You will learn something in this process and improve your job prospects at the same time. You're going to get the tangible end result, but you're going to get the intrinsic benefits of more confidence, more motivation. You're going to get both. So I do offer resume writing and LinkedIn writing, cover letters, because that is a part of the job search and something that a lot of people struggle with. But I'm really shifting a lot myself now to coaching people in, what do you love? What are your priorities? What are your must-haves in this next position? And I will tell clients, you could invest. I want you to make best use of this time and money that you're investing in working with me. And we're not going to get you a job that you could have gotten on your own. We're going to get you the job you want to make it worth it, because you don't need me for that. To get same paycheck different building, you don't need me. You can do that on your own.
That's bold.
If we're going to dance this dance together, we're going to get you something that is meaningful and worthwhile. And that's what I love, that I get to do that every day.
Absolutely. You get to do that every day. And it's, I've seen that in you, getting the chance to work with you and see what you do. What I also wanted to discuss, because I thought this was, you're just very smart around this, around your use of social media to connect with prospects. So what tool do you find the most impactful in the work that you do in your business?
For my line of business, LinkedIn is really where it's at, because people are for the most part, they're in career mode when they're on LinkedIn. That's already on their mind. So it's very relevant. So I'm very active on LinkedIn, but I'm in Facebook as well. I would say LinkedIn is my primary social media. Facebook is kind of my secondary. And then I leave it at that. I'm not spreading myself thin. I've really focused in on, where are my clients? Where are they talking? Where are they congregating? And a lot of that is LinkedIn. I'm very active in a lot of groups. I'm very active in their freelance marketplace called ProFinder. And I'm just active in building connections with people and really just putting my message out there very consistently and very bravely,
Yes.
and asking for referrals. And I'm really in LinkedIn is in addition to, I would say, referrals and word of mouth.
Yeah.
That's where most of my clients come from, because that's just the most relevant place for them to be when they're thinking about their job search and their career. So that's worked really well for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wanted to be able to share that with our audience, because you've used that beautifully. When you shared your approach, I was like, that's really freaking smart. And, you figured out a system, a process of connecting with prospects, and then getting those who are really serious to take that next step with you. And then they get to decide which level of engagement is going to be the best for them at that stage. And so I just want to acknowledge you for that. It's so important. There's a gazillion different social media channels out there. Some people think they need to be everywhere, but you spread yourself really thin. And I like how you had like, this is my primary, here's my secondary. So for everybody watching, you need to have that one that you're a freaking rock star on, like you just could do it in your sleep. And then once you've really mastered that, if you've got the space to bring in, number two, you can bring in that number two. And like sometimes number two it's even more playful. You're just like, oh, I'm going to have some fun. It's just like experimenting, and it's fun to be here too. And they each have, it's like what you said, we're going to do this dance together. Each social media channel, one of my guests, Jada Selner, calls them dance floors. They each are their own little dance floor. And I think like LinkedIn is like, like the hotel ballroom, it's like the conference, right? Whereas Facebook is like, it's like a party, you're kind of like at a party. And then Instagram to me is like, you're at this really cool museum and there's beautiful like art, because it's all about the photos and the images, and we're going to like dance in there. So just know where your people are. That's the number one thing. Like you said, your people, your prospects, when they're on LinkedIn, they are thinking exactly in the way that you need them to be thinking to have that conversation of working together.
Yes.
So by you being there, being a presence, showing up, adding value, asking for referrals, letting them know who you are and that you are going to be there tomorrow and the next day and the next day, makes them realize that this Lorraine woman, she's the real deal.
Absolutely. And I've been trying to really get creative, and I've been experimenting with video blogs. I did my first 2 Facebook Lives ever recently. So I'm really, trying to innovate it and really find new ways to get creative and reach people with my message.
Yes. And you've done a phenomenal job, and I'm really excited to see, what's going to happen in your next 2 years of business. Like that's the neat piece. And I feel the most exciting part is when you love what you do. You wake up and you're like, I love I'm using my skills in a way that I want to use them. I'm using the gifts that God gave me, and I'm helping people. Like you are just helping people. So what advice would you give to somebody who is experiencing, resistance and fear in terms of, taking that next step in their business? A lot of our listeners, they are, entrepreneurs, or they want to be. They realize that the thing that they're doing right now isn't working. Many of them are called to coaching in some capacity, and they're afraid. Perhaps they didn't see themselves as an entrepreneur, but they're realizing like you, the way I'm going to get this freedom and the kind of life that I want is to work for myself, is to be my own boss, but they're afraid. What would you say to them, Lorraine?
I would say to learn, do not resist your fears. Learn how to work with them. Learn how to understand fear, because fear is your friend. Fear is not telling you that something is bad for you. It's telling you you just haven't been there yet. You just haven't done it. And I think that we let the fear and the self-doubt and the negative self-talk derail us because we haven't seen the proof yet. We haven't seen it work for us. And I would say you don't need proof. You need faith. And if you're feeling a call to do something, there is a reason for it. Being a business owner requires unbelievable trust, self-trust, trust in the universe, and listening to your intuition. And that is not always easy to do. But I would say if you're feeling your intuition is calling you in a certain direction, trust that there is a reason. Trust that is a safe, positive voice, that it's your voice. It's you talking to yourself. It's not really outside of you. It's your guidance, your higher self talking to you, saying it's okay to proceed. It's okay.
Mm.
You can go. And I think life tends to nudge us gently. And then when we don't listen, it gets louder and louder and louder. And then that's when things like the boom, you're going to lose your job or whatever it is. It's like, okay, you didn't do it. I'm going to make it happen.
Totally.
For you. So if you want to
Absolutely.
avoid that, sometimes you just listen to that quiet voice because it's telling you that it is okay to proceed. You just haven't been there yet. And I'm so glad that I listened to that voice. Eventually, it did take me a while.
And it's okay. For many of us, it takes a while. It's not the first time we get hit with it. You're just like,
No.
wait, really? Like, no, you picked the wrong person. And it finally just keeps coming and it keeps coming. You're like, oh no, this is directed at me. This is through me. This is from me.
You're not talking to me by mistake. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh. So well said. Lorraine, where can our listeners find you? Where do you want to guide them to go check you out?
Sure. I would say go to my website. It's www.worksmartcounseling.com. And you can opt into my email list there. And there's a free gift if you do that. I have a couple of free gifts you can choose from that will help you in your job search. But I would say go to my website or find me on LinkedIn. You can just search my name, Lorraine Rise, and feel free to send me a connection request. And I would say LinkedIn and my website are the two best places to go. But yeah, take the leap. Do it.
Awesome. And anyone who's tuning in, even if not for you, if you're not involved in a career shift or a job search, pass this episode on to someone in your life. We have a lot of entrepreneurs here, but pass this on to somebody in your world who they do want to be walking that career road. There's many people who they work best in a larger organization. It's what they're here to do. And so I just wanted to offer it up to share this episode with people in your world who are really kind of at that crossroads of like, what am I supposed to be doing? And they are so committed to having a career that's fulfilling. Lorraine is a fantastic resource. All right, Lorraine, this is the finale question. You know what it is. It is your turn to share your response. What is the gutsiest move you've ever made, and how does it inspire your life and work today?
The gutsiest move I ever made absolutely was walking away from my last full-time job. I've never looked back. Even though it was scary, I have never felt like I made the wrong decision. I just delved into that trust and that intuition as best I could, and it has changed the course of my life. It's why we're speaking. It's why I'm here doing what I'm doing today, because I decided that I was ready enough. I maybe didn't feel ready, but I was ready enough. And so walking away and taking that Band-Aid off of leaving a full-time job. I know there's people out there who listen to this who probably want to do that. And it is so scary. And I can relate to that, but it is so necessary because my business has just grown ever since the day that I did. So it was absolutely gutsy though. It's only in hindsight, I look back and I go, wow, that was really bold. I can't believe I did that, but I did. So
yeah, and I totally get it. I look back at certain things and I'm like, whoa, I don't even know if I would do that today, but I did it then. But like you get energy off of that. Well, if I did that, like I could do this other thing that feels really hard now. And it feels really, hard in that moment. But when we can trust, like you said, you got to have that self-trust. You have to believe that there is something greater out. And I love what you said. I am ready enough. That's a beautiful concept, a beautiful feeling. I am ready enough. As women, especially for us recovering perfectionists, we don't feel like we're ready. I'm not ready. You're like, no, you are. You're ready enough. And guess what? The rest of the pieces that you need to get ready, you're going to get as you walk on the road.
Absolutely.
It's through the practice. It's through putting yourself out there, falling on your face a few times, being willing to not be perfect, but to learn as you go.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I will just say, Jenny, that you should know that your podcast was one of those early voices I had in my head. It was when I was still at my full-time job and daydreaming about leaving it. I have a clear memory of having my phone on my desk, listening to the Get Gutsy podcast. Really, I do. Thinking, that is what I want to be doing. I can, if she can do that, I can do that. And I have that memory because it's been almost 2 years now that I've been following this. And that was, it was one of those voices that I let in that said, yes, you can.
Yes, you can. And thank you for sharing that. And this show is about, when this goes live, it'll be 2 years old. We're just about at the 2 year point of just recording this. So it's like you were listening since the beginning, and that is so beautiful to hear. Thank you for sharing that. I am glad that these messages made you realize that you could trust that voice inside and you could make that leap. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to connect with you. Andrea's here. Hey, Andrea, I'll be right there for you. That's my girl, Andrea. We'll be coming on in a second. We doing it up here in Get Gutsy Land. I have so many amazing women that I get to share with my audience. I feel humbled and grateful. Thank you, Lorraine, for giving me the opportunity to work with you in that VIP strategy retreat. Everybody go check out Lorraine and go get gutsy today. You are ready enough. This is Jenny Fennig sending you so much love, light, and faith as you get gutsy. I will see you next time. Bye now.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and you're listening to Get Gutsy with Jenny Fennig. Gutsy leaders unite and ignite.